Hi, and welcome to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Today, I want to talk about being too nice. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. My name is Kale Houser. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do want to take a second and really thank you for those of you that have liked and subscribed and continue to listen to my podcast. I do very much appreciate it. I enjoy doing it. I hope you're finding it helpful and some actual practical tips and advice that you can implement into your business and maybe even your life, and to help your relationships and families and friends and all those types of good things, and just how you interact with people in general. Today, I want to talk about, it certainly applies to business, but it also is kind of a mindset kind of thing, and your attitude overall. And as you may have guessed, right, is it an attitude of just kind of being too nice? There is nothing wrong with being nice. There is nothing wrong with being accommodating, or putting yourself or putting others before yourself. Absolutely, that is a characteristic and a personality trait that is completely admirable. It is something to achieve to, because you are, it usually comes out of a sense of serving others and wanting to lift others up and really be that kind of servant leadership and servant mentality to other people. However, as with anything on either end of the spectrum, it can go too far to where it gets you in trouble. And we recently had an interaction with a potential client about that. Was kind of the problem they were having, is the industry that they were in is very service oriented, right? It's just the whole industry itself is giving, compassionate, that kind of thing. I won't go into the details too much, but we all understand those types of industries, whether it be a charity or even a church type of an industry, or something related to those in some manner or fashion. And hers certainly was. And most people that join those types of industries that are service-oriented and help other people, not necessarily strictly for profit, right? They do it as whether it be a social service, something with the community or the government, halfway houses, rehab centers, all those types of things that are very service-oriented in nature, attract a certain kind of person. And that person usually, like I said, compassionate. They have a sense of a desire to serve others and really, sacrifice themselves in order to help other people, because they have that ability to do so. But as they tip into that, or as they get further along into it, because people will take. It's nice to be served, right? There's a sense of, wow, this is, somebody's doing this for me. And this happens a lot in marriages, when you fall into these roles, and typically it starts to tilt heavier on one spouse serving the other more than the other, if that makes sense. But you need to set boundaries where this comes from, because people that are used to getting things and used to being served start to expect that, and they start to take advantage of that. And that is certainly the case in business, and can be the case in business, when you've set yourself up for that kind of modus operandus, whatever it is, you know what I mean, for that mode of operation in how you do business. So have you moved away from we're here to serve just because that's your personality? You're super nice all the time and accommodating. You rarely speak up when somebody, does something you don't like, or does something that's legitimately not okay to be doing, because of this sense of not wanting to offend or anything of that nature, right? Kind of falls under that umbrella of too nice. But really, all you are at that point is a limp noodle. You are somebody that other people understand that they can take advantage of that, right? This becomes the go ask your mom, go ask your dad, and then the child starts to learn who to ask for certain things of what they can get away with or not, right? Dad doesn't necessarily care what you have for dinner, so you're going to go ask dad if you can have, pizza every night, those types of things. And this comes out of when you recognize that this is you, or it's starting to be you, you're just a very, you could be absolutely bubbly, personality-wise, but also, just extremely nice. When you've recognized that, you need to set processes in place. You need to have your standard operating procedures, this guide, and again, I'm talking in the business sense and in your industry, this guide that steps in and holds that accountability when you are unable to do so. These standards of behavior and expectations, whether they be in the form of a job description, your actual, no kidding, standing operating procedures. And I will say for SOPs, no matter what size of business you are, you have to have some form or fashion of these written down and available for your team members to refer to and understand where basically where the left and right stops are of what they can and cannot do as far as their behavior, expectations of productivity, all those types of things. The SOPs, standards of procedure, is the guide that tells them those things when you're not around, or when you know that as they come to ask and push those boundaries, you may fall victim to being like, oh yeah, sure, that's okay. You can, start coming in 15 minutes later because, I understand you've got X, Y, and Z going on, right? Because those are easy things to accommodate on the fly, and they're very emotionally based. And you, as a very nice person, will tend to be on the acquiescence end of the spectrum versus the hardline. No, you need to be here at 8 a.m. or whatever your time is versus 8:15. That is because we've got customers walking in the door at 8 a.m. We've got phone calls to make, all those types of things. We've got donuts to make at 4 a.m. All those things. And if you're not here, it doesn't get made, and then it just kind of flows and impacts the rest of the day. But as you rely on that whim of your emotion at any given time, there is no standard. The standard is no standard. The standard is whatever you feel like at the moment. And that you cannot, it is not sustainable. Absolutely not. We all understand this at our core, but in reality and in practice, it's so difficult to reconcile that because you, again, as a too nice person, are so wanting to be nice to everybody and say, yeah, I totally understand that situation. Yeah, come in. You've got, daycare, conflicts, traffic across town, da-da-da-da-da. But these are all things that you should have found out when you were hiring people on, right? These are because you clearly explained the SOPs, you clearly explained the requirements of the position to people. And that's the point where you need to, maybe ask like, hey, do you have any conflicts of being here at 8 a.m.? Do you have reliable transportation? I actually learned the other day that you can't ask people if they have a car to get to and from work. You can only ask them if they have reliable transportation to get to and from work, which I thought was interesting. But anyway, so you need to ensure that, hey, do you have reliable transportation that you can be here and ready to go, clocked in and ready to go at 8 a.m. every morning or Monday through Friday, whatever that is for you guys. And those are things you need to, and that's where they can bring up, well, actually I've got, my daughter's preschool doesn't open till 8, but I can be here at 8:15. And then that's something you can decide between yourselves if that is worth moving forward or not. And then if this comes up later, maybe they had a baby or, whatever situations happen, or they moved into different schools as kids grow up early. And I'm using the kid example because that's a major factor of what impacts people's times and their ability to get to and from places. And those are all things you need to address on a case-by-case basis, but specifically address it long-term. Like, hey, I understand your daughter's starting middle school this year, and the times are changed from what they were in elementary school, and we need to accommodate some way, form, or fashion. Or, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. I have to have somebody here until 3:30 or until 4 o'clock. I cannot let you just bounce out at 3 o'clock to go pick up your daughter from middle school. And people understand that, right? They understand that. Some people don't understand that. I will live that caveat. A lot of people have an expectation of businesses and business owners are there for them and to serve them, right? Again, going back to you being too nice, and you've kind of set up this mentality. And so when you do kind of lay down the law or try to enforce the standards of what you need to make your business successful, they can and oftentimes will take offense to that. And that's where you get into trouble. And that's what exactly Kale Houser Leadership is trying to help you avoid by putting these processes and systems in place, and these attitudes and these way that you interact and manage your teams is to avoid all these types of things. So everyone is kind of on the same page, and ultimately they want to be there and they want to work with you to figure out a solution to these situations. All right, so going back to being too nice. Because the reality is you're not a charity. You're there presumably to make money, to provide a living, a form of sustenance for your family, for your people, or even just you, right? You're a college person and you decided to go out on this venture and start this, or college graduate, start this venture, and you need to eat, you need to pay your rent. And that's what business is about, in the form of, while we serve others and serve customers and serve other businesses and clients, we're serving ourselves in the form of making money so we can continue to live and not being homeless or not being on welfare type of thing. But oftentimes business owners that fall into this category of too nice, they start treating their business like a charity, not the business itself like a charity, that they're giving away stuff to their clients and just serving their clients for free out of a nonprofit type of mentality, but they're treating their organization like a charity of people can just come and go as they please, whatever they need, everything's there for free for them, versus some expectation of exchange, money for work type of thing. But even charities, you have to have standards for your organization. You may give away everything. A lighthouse mission, you may give away thousands of meals and hundreds and thousands of blankets and socks and shoes and toiletries, all those types of things. Provide free beds for the homeless in your community. But you can only do that when people show up, when other people, turn the lights on, and when other people do your fundraising for you so you can have lights turn on. And donating food and clothing and coming in to help serve all those meals and serve those people and do the cleaning and all that stuff. You can't be in the form of the charity with your people. You need to be, hey, George, you signed up to be here to help us, pack all these supplies or pack these lunches that we were delivering, and you didn't show up. So now there was only one of me doing it, or two of us doing it instead of the three that we needed, and it took us an extra 4 hours, and now we're delivering these lunches that were supposed to be delivered at 11:30 a.m. Now we're delivering them at 4 p.m. And it just, snowballed in the whole day. So it's that expectation, because George doesn't, maybe he doesn't understand the whole process, or you're not holding George to a standard when, hey, George, when you sign up, you're here. You're making a commitment to be here to help us do this, right? And you have to have those standards in place. Even when you're accepting volunteers, which volunteers is a whole nother category. If you're working with volunteers, and if you are running a nonprofit or some other fashion that you're working with a volunteer workforce, that's a whole nother issue, because to them it is a zero sum in the form of financial culpability or liability. But usually you have to appeal to their sense of service, their sense of desire to serve their community, whatever it is that's drawn, to that particular organization. I won't go too far into that, because that is a specific kind of set of how you manage nonprofits and charity organizations. So I wanted to encourage you. This is something that's very difficult, because typically too nice people, while they know that they're a nice personality and that's kind of what they base their whole persona around, they don't necessarily recognize when it's gone into the no longer beneficial or serving their business realm. And usually it becomes, they get hurt somehow doing it, right? Like, oh man, I was so nice to Cindy. I don't understand why she's just not showing up, or why she's, taking advantage, or why she decided to not even call, or she quit and without even letting me know. Like, I was so nice to her, all this stuff. I did all these things for her. I babysat her kid in this emergency, right? All these things can happen, and they end up getting hurt, and they don't understand why, because again, they're too nice to find out why. And ultimately they become this kind of lip noodle, what's the other term? This doormat type of personality, where people finally understand, or people understand that they can take advantage of that person, especially because not everybody's nice. The reality is not everybody is like you, and not everyone is interested in being that servant to other people. Some people will and do take advantage of nice people. So caution on that. Make sure you're aware. If you recognize this and you have issue with it, and it's something you need help with, please reach out to us. Go to kalehouser.com. There's a book a call form at the bottom of the webpage. Make sure you book a slot with Liz or I on our calendar, and we'll talk to you and see what's going on with your business and how we can help you. That would be phenomenal. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. That would be phenomenal. Help spread the word on this podcast. And we will talk to you soon. Have a fantastic afternoon, no matter where you are at in the world. Bye.